In the depths of the 18th century, amid the violence and lawlessness, a small village named Shadowbrook was nestled within a dense forest. The village was infamous for its tales of terror and the supernatural. It was said that the village was cursed, and those who dared to live there were doomed to face unimaginable horrors. Born in 1961, Jeremy grew up hearing these eerie stories, but never put much faith in them until he met his great-grandfather, Isaac. It was the summer of 1968 when Jeremy first visited Isaac's old, isolated cabin on the edge of Shadowbrook. The then 9-year-old boy was eager to learn about the village legends and the strange occurrences that had plagued his family for generations. One evening, as dusk began to fall, Isaac sat Jeremy down and began to recount a chilling story. Back in 1851, when Isaac was just a young man, he had ventured deep into the heart of the forest, searching for a mysterious creature that was said to haunt the woods. The creature was known as the Shadow Stalker, a tall, dark figure with piercing white eyes and the ability to vanish into thin air. Isaac, along with a group of brave men from the village, spent days scouring the woods, but to no avail. One by one, the men abandoned the search, leaving Isaac alone and determined to uncover the truth. It was on the third day when Isaac, exhausted and disoriented, stumbled upon a small clearing. There, in the moonlight, stood the Shadow Stalker, a terrifying figure cloaked in darkness, staring directly at Isaac with its haunting white eyes. Isaac froze in fear, feeling the creature's malevolent presence seeping into his soul. In a flash, the Shadow Stalker vanished, leaving Isaac to wonder if he had truly seen the legendary creature or if his mind was playing tricks on him. As Isaac finished his tale, Jeremy felt a shiver run down his spine. The old man stood up and led him to a window, pointing to the dark forest that surrounded the cabin. "The Shadow Stalker is still out there," he whispered, his voice trembling with fear. "It's never stopped watching us." That night, Jeremy lay in bed, unable to shake the image of the Shadow Stalker from his mind. He knew in his heart that the creature was real, and that it had somehow become entwined with his family's fate. Over the years, Jeremy returned to Shadowbrook many times, each time uncovering more unsettling stories about the creature and its insidious influence on the village. The Shadow Stalker became an obsession for him, and as he grew older, he felt an ever-growing sense of dread. One fateful night, Jeremy was awoken by a chilling wind that swept through his bedroom. As he peered out the window, he saw the tall, dark figure of the Shadow Stalker standing among the trees, its white eyes fixed on him. The creature had finally found him, and Jeremy knew that his life would never be the same. Haunted by the Shadow Stalker's relentless gaze, Jeremy spent the rest of his days searching for answers and trying to protect his family from the curse that had tormented them for generations. But the dark presence of the creature was inescapable, and it continued to cast a long, sinister shadow over the village of Shadowbrook, reminding all who lived there of the horrors that lurked in the darkness. Despite the growing fear and his obsession with the Shadow Stalker, Jeremy decided to confront the creature head-on. He knew that his family's safety and the peace of the village depended on it. Gathering his courage and armed with the knowledge of generations of Shadowbrook residents, he began to devise a plan to rid them of the sinister entity once and for all. Jeremy spent months researching ancient rituals, spells, and folklore that might hold the key to banishing the Shadow Stalker. He discovered an old text hidden away in the village library, which spoke of a ritual that could banish malevolent spirits back to the darkness from which they came. The ritual required a circle of salt, 7 candles, and an object belonging to the spirit's victim. Determined to put an end to the Shadow Stalker's reign of terror, Jeremy enlisted the help of a few brave villagers who had also suffered at the hands of the creature. Together, they gathered the necessary materials and waited for the next full moon night when the creature's power was said to be at its peak. As the moonlight illuminated the forest, Jeremy and the villagers ventured into the heart of the woods, where they believed the Shadow Stalker resided. With their hearts pounding in their chests, they set up the ritual circle, placing the candles and the objects belonging to the creature's victims at the center. As Jeremy began to recite the ancient incantations, the wind howled and the air grew heavy with tension. Suddenly, the Shadow Stalker appeared at the edge of the clearing, its piercing white eyes fixed on the group. The villagers trembled with fear, but Jeremy continued the ritual, his voice growing stronger and more confident with each word. The creature, sensing its power waning, let out a guttural scream and lunged towards the circle. But as it crossed the threshold of salt, an invisible barrier stopped it in its tracks. The Shadow Stalker writhed in agony as the ritual's power engulfed it, and with one final, ear-shattering shriek, it vanished into the darkness. Exhausted but victorious, Jeremy and the villagers returned to Shadowbrook, their hearts filled with relief and newfound hope. Word of their triumph spread quickly, and for the first time in generations, the village began to heal from the curse that had plagued them for so long. As the years passed, the stories of the Shadow Stalker became little more than whispers, a dark legend spoken of around the fire on cold winter nights. Jeremy continued to live in the village, watching over his family and the people of Shadowbrook, ensuring that the Shadow Stalker never returned. While the memories of the creature and its evil deeds would never be entirely forgotten, the village of Shadowbrook had finally found peace, and Jeremy, who had once been haunted by the white-eyed specter, could rest knowing that he had freed his family and the village from the clutches of the malevolent Shadow Stalker.